This is such a big thing, right?
Thank you.
Come on, Jim. Good morning, Colin.
Morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Fantastic. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for-
I wanted to be kind of businesslike.
Can I see the other girl?
Hello and welcome to Qatar's first sports podcast, In the Game. I'm your host, Steve Mackey, and we can't wait to introduce you to everything that is sports here in Qatar and afar. We're going to be bringing you personalities, company owners, institutions, individuals that are making a real difference. So, with us, enjoy the journey.
It's fun, man. Sports is fun.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app. Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. Today, it's always a special day. You know where I come from here. And again, I have one of my favorites, Paul. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Steve. Officially in the studio.
Yeah, exactly. We've always been, we've met up once before, but it's always been Zoom.
Yeah, we've met up once at the golf. Was it the golf place? Then we hooked up when we were in our villa. Then we hooked up in the UK when we were there for Christmas. So we've done everywhere. So now it's official one here.
And you went back to the UK, and it was kind of, you got back and everything's okay.
Yeah, crazy. Not again. Yeah, crazy journey, but it was great seeing snow, having wet. What was it? Mud.
Freezing cold.
Freezing cold. Every night we went out for a walk and it was freezing, but we loved it.
Yeah.
Because we just been in a heat of literally 40, 48 degrees. So
Wow.
so we loved it. The the cold, the mud, the forest walks.
It
was amazing.
It was amazing. I would
Really
love
good,
it. I
really
missed
good.
it. I really have missed it. And I miss you all. I really do. So, but you're non-stop. You're kind of, and I know for everybody that haven't seen you before, you've been, your journey is just incredible. You've been doing so many different things. You're a PhD, so I should be Dr. Paul.
No, we don't go there with that one. No. Park that
you've
to
done
one
so
side.
much education, and you've been doing coaching from an athlete perspective.
Yeah.
Tobogganing.
Mm?
You teach people to toboggan.
Yeah.
You give me some of my guests.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant.
Yeah.
And you really are somebody in sport. And I know that we've been on a podcast before, and we're going to touch on that. It's like we're going to touch on it again because we said what was the barriers of not doing physical activity.
Yeah. So that was the first one that we spoke a bit about, the barriers that pretty much prevents people from doing physical activity. We always make up excuses in terms of time, lack of motivation, family support, or where I live, or access finances. So we dealt with that one, and this is kind of like the follow-up to that, really, on how to overcome some of these barriers.
So I'm going to get battering on this show.
Okay, right. Why is that, Steve, actually? Because, guys, very insightful. So, Steve, actually, because the first one was about New Year's resolution and people being motivated for the 1st of January, and then suddenly it all takes a kind of a massive kind of south free fall.
Yeah.
And Steve, you just told me just a moment ago that you have actually slid a little bit.
I'm disappointed, and my excuse is always time. And it's just a case of making that time. There's just so many plates spinning.
Check that out, Steve. Time. Okay, so actually the first point that we will come to is to do with the time kind of barrier.
Yeah.
There are factors. There are a few hints on how to get over that, Steve.
It's kind of, I know that I've just got to bite the bullet and
get back on it.
Get back on it. And I think that's what I've got to do. And I know that there's going to be a load of people out there. But I'm trying to do right now is, from my side, and you could help me on this one, Paul, is that I'm trying to think what's changed in me from the time that I was doing 6 to 10 Ks per day. I was doing swimming and I was doing yoga. And now...
I hate to say it. You said I hate to give you your excuse because it's not something I want to do. Time.
Yeah, that's...
Because you've taken on so much, Steve. You're doing so much activities. You're everywhere.
Yeah.
So time is the main issue, isn't it?
I've got a spinning bike in there. One of our guests, Zumba Zara.
Okay.
She gave me one of her bikes to utilise. I've just not done it. I feel really bad.
I spotted the bike sitting there, but Steve, there was a bit of dust on it, so that proves that it has not been
There's a lot of dust on it, Paul. There is a lot of dust on it.
Oh, I was being diplomatic a little bit, but if you want to go the full whack and tell me there's a lot, that's fantastic.
I thought today that I was going to do. I was going to go for a walk at 6.
Okay.
And then kind of come in and say, yeah, I've started it back up again.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, hit the snooze button.
It's standard. I mean, we have this. I have the same problem. I find myself training at 12 o'clock at night or early in the morning because of the kids.
Yeah.
Literally, I spend all my days homeschooling, trying to then do bits and bobs. And before I realise, I'm actually falling asleep in front of the TV at 7, 8 o'clock. And then I wake up and I'm like, right, I have to get out and do something physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And it is so important because you spent your life in sports.
Yes.
And you can tell us, I suppose you can preach to us to look up and say, hey, you've just got to know the feelings that you can get from this. And I know the feelings, but it's just, the one thing that I think of is the pain that you're going to have to go through. And I know I know people are going to say, shut up, just get on with it.
No, but do you know what? It sounds so crazy, but I love the pain. Because after the pain comes the kind of like the next push up in your performance and your kind of fitness targets. So the pain, actually, sometimes if you don't feel the pain, you're like, have I done a good session? Have I just done a good kind of activity?
Yeah.
So I think the pain is part of the game.
I no pain, as they say, and I know that there are all these sayings, but no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
I know that you can get back into it, and it's something, but it's just making that effort. And I suppose I'm not doing enough right now.
Yeah, very true. But Steve, hey, so let's go from today. Once we figure out how to get over some of these barriers, you may start to implement them into your.
I'm ready.
Regime.
I really am ready.
Okay.
My wife's just done she'd done a challenge. She was doing 100 sit-ups for the month of February.
Wow. Okay. Every night or in the morning?
She was
or when
splitting it
she?
up.
Oh, she splits it up during the day.
During the day.
Fantastic.
So it was just something that she'd done, but I need to get back into it.
Yeah.
I need to get back into it.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling and it does affect you in so many different ways because you know that you're not you're giving yourself in other places maybe a comfort zone because you think to yourself, well, if I'm busy doing, I've got to go to the office early and
very true.
And you're making excuses. And that's where I suppose it all breaks down.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true.
I want to put those earphones back in. And I want to get.
You're not one of those, Steve. You're not one of those people that put the headphones in.
Yeah.
Oh, you're like my wife. No. Oh, well. Then again.
But she's really fit, right?
Well, she's fit, but I don't like it.
Really?
No, I don't like headphones.
Oh,
because
no.
I believe because I think the headphones actually shuts off certain receptors and it takes away some of your pain. So I like to just feel the general senses of everything, feel the sweat, feel the pain, hear your surroundings. But my wife is totally against me. So I think it's one of those things like, my might? No, not my might. It's one of those whether you like it or you don't like it.
I've tried, I suppose, listening to audiobooks too. Just to take my mind off because if you're walking or running, it's just I just don't. I've never liked it, Paul.
Oh, I love it.
Never liked it. So
I don't. I just basically just get in it and go with the flow. But I mean, it's one of those things. Some people just love feeling the smelling, getting the senses of wherever they are. And other people just hate it. Like I could stand on a treadmill for ages or cross trainer.
Really?
And I don't look at anything. I don't have anything in my ears. And all I do is fix the point. And then I just basically chase it down.
When I was a young man,
I
suppose, give me a ball, any type of ball to chase after. Hockey. I know hockey. Windsurfing was something that I just loved. I loved rugby. Rugby was fantastic for me. But I didn't have to, those I had other things occupying in my mind. So it wasn't about thinking, you battle with yourself constantly.
You do. But then there's a program on Channel 4 that I used to heavily watch when I was back in the UK. SAS Who Dares Wins.
Yeah.
When normal Joe Publics go on there and then they do the celebrity version as well. And you start to realize just the special forces, just what they go through. They wake them up in the middle of the night, throw them in the water, make your way back after like 3-4 hours swim, then have to still run through rugged terrains.
Yeah.
It makes you realize actually with them, it's a lot up here.
It's all up there.
Yeah,
Because
it's a lot.
I was a chef with them, and I don't mind saying this. I
Okay.
was a chef with them for a few years.
Yep.
And I saw the way that they just, you've got to have it in your mind. You've just got to have it in your mind.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
haven't got it in your mind,
No.
if you can, they're going to put you through so many different things.
And I guess that's the psychological thing, isn't it? It's just mentally how much you're able to just shut it out.
Shut it out.
Yeah, and I think that, in a nutshell, it's physical activity.
That's physical
Yeah.
activity, and it's the excuses. I know
It's the excuses. Yeah, it's excuses, which we covered, was it?
Yeah.
In the last podcast. I'm not even going to say last week. We just call it last podcast.
So let's go over that again, because I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Okay. So yeah, we identified those are basically, it's split into two key areas: environmental effects,
Yeah.
which is all the stuff that you can't really control, where you live and whether it's cold, whether it's hot, whether you have access to a gym, whether you have to walk through crime-ridden areas.
Yeah.
So those things you can't really control. There are some activity, or there's some things that you can do to actually get around it. And then there is the personal ones, which we tell ourselves, which deals with, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm not motivated. I'm going to get injured. Oh, okay, I don't have time. Oh, I'm so broke. So there are all those kind of things. But I've tried to, we covered that one. I think you've got it. It's on your website, right?
Yeah.
So the article itself, and then there is
Yeah.
the podcast.
Yeah.
So I think people can listen to that. And what we're doing with this one is trying to actually figure out how we can overcome some of these barriers.
Of course, yeah.
Again, the
Yeah.
article will be on the website,
Yeah.
and then the
Yeah.
podcast, obviously, is what we're doing right now. So,
Yeah.
so we'll see.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So basically, as we discussed, there was two physical areas. There was two barriers: physical or personal, and then there was the environmental one. How we typically approach it normally, it's based on two things. One of them is to deal with what our past experience has been, where we do the exercise and we fail.
Mm-hmm.
That normally actually has an impact on how we perceive kind of the next fitness or the next activity, how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And then the other one basically just deals with, what's the name? We never really set really clear, defined goals. So we make kind of overblown gestures like, I'm going to lose lots of weight.
Yeah.
I'm going to get fit. I'm going to become Arnold Schwarzenegger or Ronald Koeman, or I'm going to be one of those Instagram models. They're not really clear, defined goals. Whereas if you set yourself very kind of small, manageable targets,
Yeah.
right? Let's start off by just doing 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
We achieve it, we go, wow, we did it. Then let's try to extend it to 10 minutes a day, or can we do 3 10 minutes in a week?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is not a lot when you think about it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
spend a lot of time just sitting watching TV or just walking up and down the road or whatever. So once we really set those clear defined roles, and then once we also deal with letting go of past experiences,
Yeah.
we can really start to get going. And so I mean, I'm going to dive straight into it and deal with one of the first things that we did. So what I've tried to do is to combine the environmental barriers
Yeah.
and the personal barriers, because there was a bit of an overlap.
Yeah.
I've tried to combine them to prevent us from having kind of like a repetitive kind of repetitive kind of thing where under the environmental I say this and under this I say. So basically I've put them all together and come up with 13 or so kind of different subheadings.
Yeah. Perfect.
I've got my cheat sheets right here just to help me to trigger my brain, because the list is quite extensive.
Okay.
So the first one we had before was time.
Yeah.
Right. How can we get around time, Steve? How can we get around times, which is one of your favorite ones? So one of the best things to do, again, what we just spoke about it a bit, is to try to basically create 3 or 4 10-minute slots in a day. So instead of saying I'm going to train for 2 hours in one go, which is, again, go, hold on, my life is so busy. How on earth can I fit in 2 hours? But we could definitely gain 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. It could be 10 minutes in the morning. It could be 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes in the evening. 10 minutes in the morning, fast walking or jogging or whatever. But it's just creating those little mini slots. You realize actually time is not an issue. Yeah. Then there are other bits as well. It's like, can you try to gain more time? Can you go to bed half an hour early? If you do that, you still get your kind of age-related hourly sleep per day. Yeah, which is true because we're meant to sleep a certain amount of time, especially for children, 12 hours sleeps. If you could sleep early 30 minutes, that means you could wake up 30 minutes. Suddenly you've got your 30-minute slot in the morning to just do an activity.
Yeah.
Then there are other things like, can we walk more? Can we walk to drop the kids to school? If it's not applicable, then can we drive to a certain point before we go shopping or before we get to work and then walk the rest? Can we go for a walk in the evening? Because these are all forms of physical activity.
Yeah.
But people tend to overlook it. Then can you make a bit more briskful kind of walk?
Yeah.
So can we walk some more? Then again, in a working environment, shopping environment, avoid the escalators, avoid lifts. Walk up the steps, walk down the steps. It's so easy. We go to places and we're like, okay, ding, in there, stand still, it takes us up. But we could gain physical activity without even trying.
Yeah.
So we could gain it just pretty much from doing that. We could do exercise in front of the TV. Easy. I remember my physios used to make me do lots of stretching, and it's the most boring thing you could imagine. But then there was a program, again, Steve, I'm showing my age here, it's called London's Burning. It was on ITV. Yeah, I used to watch that 1 hour slot. I used to just sit there and stretch whilst watching it. This is going way back into the 90s.
I remember.
I used to sit there every Sunday, just sit there and stretch.
Yeah.
And then I started to turn a lot of TV watching episodes into sit-up sessions, core sessions. So you could gain time. So you kill two birds with one stone, watch your favorite series whilst getting fit.
Yeah,
so again,
that's a good one.
That's a time gain. That's time gained. Then we've got things like housework. Split the housework over multiple days. Hoovering on one day, ironing on one day, washing something or another, but it's all the bending, it's the standing, it's the hoovering, the action of hoovering. All of this is physical activity, but if we spread it over the week, it means we're getting fitness slots in between. So then you've got basically, again, you could, if you're really struggling in terms of time because you've got childcare problems, childcare issues, can mum and dad can help out, or can close friends come and just babysit and allow you 45 minutes. So you've got these things, all of these kind of things helps you to get over the time barrier side of it. Yeah, so there you go, Steve. That's the time.
I've sorted mine, and by next week, or when we do our next one, then I will have something to show you.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. Right, another one that comes up, Steve, was the energy. People complain, I don't have enough energy. But this is like the chicken and egg kind of cycle. Which one came first? So in order to have energy, you need to do the more activity you do, the fitter you become, the more energy actually you become a bit more alive. It's a bit like what you spoke about.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the energy to initiate the activity, so it's one of those things that the cycle needs to be broken.
It's all those voices in your head.
This is it.
It's you've got to tell that voice to get out.
Yeah, this is exactly it. So it's just literally doing it and then staying in it long enough to actually realize that, me not having energy, but doing exercise gives me energy. And that energy then self-fulfilling prophecy where you keep on doing more exercise because you've got the energy to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
But if we don't bite the bullet to get it done, then it just never gets done. Right. So again, with energy, one of the best ways is that you have your highest energy in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we slip in a small little session in the morning? That's one of the ways. And then one of the other ways is if we feel like we're really getting tired, we could reduce the intensity of whatever activity we're doing.
Yeah.
Get to a level where you're comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you could then step it up gradually until you feel like, actually, I can manage this. Then you squeeze it a little bit more. I can manage this. Before you know, when you look back, you're fit. You're healthy. You're feeling good about yourself. Mentally, you're really refreshed. And then the other part as well with energy. If you require energy to get started, things like pack your bags the night before.
Yeah.
Put your stuff in the way. Can you actually do your activity on your route to work or on your way back or from after you drop the children? Then it doesn't feel like you've actually taken a huge portion of time and energy to get it done.
Yeah.
So again, these are a few little pointers there that if you just implement it, the energy kind of excuse will suddenly just literally fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Right, then that leads on to motivation. Motivation is one of the biggest ones. What's the greatest motivation, Steve, for doing physical activity?
Just seeing the results of your training.
Results.
Yeah.
And then also healthy lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me personally, I mean, I did sports from a very young age because I loved it. And plus I had dyslexia actually. So I just felt like I could never do anything academically. So I'm just going to throw myself into making football happen.
Yeah.
But obviously the health side of it is the health benefits. You get rid of all the kind of critical markers, high blood pressure, which I've got running through my family, but I've never actually had a problem. My dad was taking from the age of high blood pressure medication from the age of 31. And I'm a spitting image of the old man, and I've managed to avoid it till now. So it's just literally making sure. So you're avoiding all the key kind of market stuff. So that is a motivation in itself. But anyway, if you can't get over that, then can we basically deal with signing a contract?
Yeah.
Holding yourself accountable. So you sit down and you say, right, this is what I think I can do. I think I could do this amount of days, 1 day, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Put that down on paper. Then give it to your best mate, being you, Steve, my best mate. So I'm going to give it to you. And then you could hold me accountable.
Yeah, yeah.
You could hold me accountable for that contract that I created and signed. So that's your motivation, that actually I can't break that contract. I signed it. I agree to those points. So write a contract for yourself, give it to a best mate, let them hold it, and then let them hold you accountable for your own words. That's one way of doing it. And then also you could just basically research activities that you really enjoy. So it doesn't have to be going out to the gym. If you enjoy dancing, join a salsa class, join a Zumba class, if you enjoy climbing, go and climb a wall.
Yeah.
Do something exciting that you really enjoy that just gets your kind of high blood pressure up a little bit. That's activity.
Yeah.
So do stuff that you enjoy. Then there may be days when you just don't feel good.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to just say, right, today I'm not going to do anything. Because you're consistent. If you're consistent that every week you've been doing something, if you don't feel like it, then just give you a break, come back the following day. It doesn't mean you're quitting or you've broken anything, but you have to allow yourself the off days. Because we all do it, right? Some weekends you feel like I want to go out, then you don't because you just don't feel like. It's the same thing with fitness. But if you make it so regimental, then it starts to play on your brain. And then it starts to become more of an issue, which shouldn't be. The other one as well, which a lot of people, this is another point as well. If you're a numbers person, you could use all the kind of Strava. You could see all your kind of distances. You could see your output. Again, so if you're a numbers person, look at those things. I did this last week. I'm doing it again. Did I do it faster? Did I jump further? Did I throw further? So if you're a numbers person, which I'm quite analytical, so I'm one of those boring people that sit there and look at fine details. Oh, the weather conditions was like this. Why did I not go faster? Why did I not do more? So if you're a numbers person, that's a good enough motivation just to see that.
I can see
and then let that motivate you. And it's Steve, okay, so I'm down to inconvenience. Inconvenience, again, people use that word all the time. How do we overcome inconvenience? Inconvenience is when people feel like, actually, why should I do this? It's inconvenience to my life. Steve will say, well, okay, then I'm so busy, I can't do it. It's an inconvenience if I do this, but I could go and do this instead. So it's one of those things that actually, it's only inconvenience because we tell ourselves it's inconvenience. How do we overcome inconvenience? Can we, again, just like before, slot it into our day without actually realizing? Or even things like walking dogs, I count that as a physical activity. Going out, breathing in air, walking your dog, they tag on you a little bit more, you speed up a bit, you slow down, have a chit chat, well, away from COVID, but you have a little bit of a chit chat with somebody, then you go again. That's a walk. In the night time, going for walks. So can we slip it into our day to work, or can we fit it in back from work? Can we fit it in for shopping? Can we fit it in before, on the way back from shopping, from picking up kids, dropping kids? So we could slip it in without actually you feeling like you've had to take a drastic measure to get it done. So that's one area. Work, so can we, again, the next one, we select workouts that we can slip into our day. Again, whether it's in front of the TV, whether it's to work, but it's workouts that work and it's still an activity. It doesn't have to be a workout, or fitness doesn't have to be when you're playing football or when you're in the gym or whatever. it's anything that just elevates your blood pressure a little bit.
Yeah.
Or even going outside, because there's a mental side of this as well. Mental well-being.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a physical component. It's just what goes in. So being outside, seeing trees, smelling the air, that's an activity.
Yeah.
So can we slip it in? And then what's the name? We've got things like stressful times. When you are going through inconvenience, a lot of people tend to deal with when you're going through stressful times.
Yeah.
People may feel like, oh, actually, I can't deal with this, but just lower the intensity.
Yeah.
And like we said prior,
Yeah.
you could just skip it for that day.
Yeah.
And then do it 2 days later or whatever. It doesn't have to be regiment.
Yeah.
It has to be something you totally and utterly enjoy and you feel like it's actually adding to your life, not something that's creating additional kind of burden.
Yeah.
But again, we so conveniently use these things as actually excuses.
I'm guilty.
Oh, we are all
guilty.
I mean, Steve, we are all guilty, but I think my wife and I probably were not great for each other because when one is feeling like they don't want to train, the other one's out training, you're like, oh, sugar, I should really be training because she's training or she feels the same thing. So you get that kind of trigger points and then you get the little kids, oh, can we go out and do some running around or can we do this? So I think we get, like it's a trade-off and then the kids now are pitching in like, oh, let's go and play football, let's go and play basketball. Papa, can you teach me how to run? So it's getting you out. Right, boredom. People get bored. What's the name? People get bored. It's like when you, I think, doing the same thing over and over again. That's why I think when people start out with physical activity, it has to be stuff that you enjoy.
Yeah.
It really, really has to be stuff you enjoy because if you don't enjoy it, you will get bored.
Yeah, of course.
You 100%. It's like if I turn around to you and say, Steve, right, you have to go out and do 10K once a month or you will get bored because that's just not normal.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but I don't know why I've stopped. And then once you stop, you can't get your motivation.
No, and that's exactly it.
It's just wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, and this is it. So it's funny, Steve. You just said it. So you get bored, but then you can't get your motivation back, which is this one right here.
Yeah.
But it's just that cycle. It never stops. So boredom, Steve. How do we get around boredom? So can we get friends and family involved? Can we get them out with us when we go out? Again, so you're interacting, you're talking, you're doing stuff with them. So if you probably don't realize that you're actually doing the activity because you're with your best mate or your family member. So that's one way of getting around boredom. Okay, so this is basic. You have to do stuff you enjoy. You have to do stuff you enjoy or you have to really see the benefits.
Yeah.
And it has to be very varied. If it's not varied, then you will get bored.
Yeah.
Like I find myself having to tend to go run, gym. That's what I try to always do. And even in the gym, some days I'll just turn it into a core session. Some days I'll turn it into a heavy lifting session. And then the same thing with my running. I don't know how distance runners do it. It's just, for me, it's just boring going out for an hour, 2 hours. My stuff, I could vary it. I could go, okay, today I'm going to run for 30 minutes. Next day, I'll do an interval session. Next day, I'll go to the track and hop over hurdles and do sprints. I get away with it. So you have to really probably enjoy the numbers that you put out to actually get up and run for an hour or so. Right, lack of knowledge and self-conscious. How many times do you hear people saying, I don't know what I'm doing?
It's like we all do it. It's like you've got the gadgets. I haven't got my watch on, but I've got an iPhone. Yeah. It's like that gives me so much information.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what I'm doing or I should do, but it's just, it's kind of, again, you look at, it's just excuses, right?
I think it's excuses, but you can't begrudge somebody for having, because there's a reason why they are having those thoughts, right? But lack of knowledge, I think modern day, so the modern day actually, it's a warped vision in my eye because you've got people doing stuff that actually, are they really doing it or is it heavily edited? Yeah. Or have they done about 50 takes before they get it done? Yeah. So what I'm about to say, I'm going to say that basically do some research, look online to social media, see what people are doing on YouTube, Instagram, But then you never know. They could have spent the last 3 hours doing the same take over and over.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's accessible, where you could see someone doing something that you're interested in,
Yeah, yeah.
and you could try to replicate it.
Yeah.
Also, there are things like beginners classes.
Yeah.
There are intermediate classes. So there's stuff for the different age ranges. Also, if you feel like the gym is overcrowded, if that's what you're after in terms of like the lack of knowledge, and you don't want people to see you because you're self-conscious that, oh, I'm a novice.
Yeah.
You could go to the early classes where it's quite, the early classes tend to be quite busy because people tend to get it in. Evenings tend to be quite busy, but during the day you could slip it in, or you could find a gym that's not popular.
Yeah.
And then just go and get it done. So you don't have to be self-conscious of the fact that you're not doing something properly. And worst case scenario, get a personal trainer to teach you the basics.
I was just going to say to you, is a personal trainer good to have?
Yeah, so it depends, because some people may not have the money.
Yeah.
But you could just get a personal trainer to do the first few sessions.
Yeah.
And then, personal trainers, bin them off.
Yeah.
And then you've got your sessions. At least you do. Then probably go and find another one to teach you a new set. Oh no, this is terrible.
I suppose but the thing with a personal trainer, I suppose they're quite good to keep you on the straight.
Precisely. I've been helping a couple of ladies on the compound out, just with going to the gym and they're like, oh, Paul, we want to pay you to do it. I'm like, no, we want to pay you to do this every week because you're the motivator. I'm like, no, I'm not. The only reason why you're saying that is because you just don't know how to use the equipment.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get into a pattern where you go in one day, you be on a cross trainer, you do a little bit of core, you do once they start to realize, and they're already 2 weeks in, they're starting to really enjoy it, and you see it. It's just because they didn't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
So instead of them blowing all their money on me, I'm just like, no, I don't mind setting sessions and helping you.
Yeah.
But end of the day, I think there's an element where it has to come from you as well. But the personal trainers will just ensure that there is no injury factors.
Yeah.
They'll teach you how to do things properly. If you're conscious of the fact that you may be lifting, doing it wrongly, and everyone's looking at you laughing, they will set that straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then that actually it leads me on into fear of injury. That leads it on, which personal trainers again are fantastic for this, where they can teach you how to do the activity correctly.
Yeah.
And normally, I mean, how I see fear of injury when people use that as an excuse is two things. One, they've been injured before, or which is then something that is actually very viable and very true.
Yeah.
Or it's perceived injury, because we did a study on players' perception of artificial pitches, and you hear some crazy stuff, but it is all perception. Because when you actually try to quantify it, it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So it is perception. So fear of injury is either perception, what you perceive, you may get injured, or you perceive that if I do this, I may hurt myself.
And just on this note, Paul,
Yeah.
you've and people are saying about these courts, you've done stuff for FIFA, right?
Yeah, we did quite a lot of work for them. Yeah, so we did the artificial pitches where we were trying to find out, because the players were like, I hate these pitches. These pitches are rubbish. The ball bounces too high. I get more injuries. And we're looking at them going, right, the first ever generation of pitches, which was with artificial pitch with sand. Yes, there was massive, it was a disaster. There was so many injuries. Like in the UK, you had Leeds United, and there's a few other places where they were damaging their knees and ankle breakages, but the pitches have moved on. So when they were using these, we were just like, okay, no, right, we need to really find out scientifically what is going on. Actually, we found out it's better on an artificial pitch, because you could predict exactly what's going to happen on that artificial, because it's the same everywhere. Whereas a football pitch, one patch may be slightly soft, one patch may be slightly hard. Then the players were like, no, the artificial pitches are very hard. And we're like, okay, they are. But in the summer months, when you're playing football on a grass pitch, it's actually harder than an artificial pitch, because artificial pitch have, shock pads.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and you're telling them this, and they're like, no. So the perception side, and we did the same thing for football, where we were looking at how players perceive certain types of balls. And again, when we finished it from a scientific point of view, what we found out was, if you introduce the ball today, most people hate it. Oh, it's different, it kicks different, it doesn't fly in the air properly, it doesn't bounce true. 5 years down the line, that ball will become the staple diet. It will be, because one of the classic ones that came up was, all the players were like, yeah, the Champions League ball, it's an amazing ball. and this ball we used for this particular World Cup was rubbish. And we looked at them going, okay, the Champion League, and they're like, yes. And we're like, it's exactly the same ball. No, it's not. The colours are the same as they were 5 years ago. And we're like, perfect. But actually take the colours away, the patterns, everything is the same. If we slice it open, it's exactly the same ball. You're like, really? You just say it's just the perception is crazy. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's what we perceive, and
that's exactly
what this comes down to. So it's perceived injury to actually being injured.
Yeah.
And I think the perceived side of it comes through a lot more. But how you overcome that, again, can warm up properly.
Yeah.
Warm up and cool down properly. Again, personal trainers can tell you, or a physician or a physio could tell you, right, these are the exercises you need to do for your body type, your body weight, or whatever. So you can actually mitigate some of these kind of potential injuries. You can get away from it. Learn how to exercise properly. Again, with the advent of social media platforms or YouTube is just full of it. You have to basically dive through a lot of the junk, but there are some good stuff on there where you can find people doing things properly. And then one of the best ones is when you go to the gym, instead of using free weights, use the equipment, because they've been ergonomically designed to put your bodies in the right positions. That literally all you have to do is exert the power, or whether it's a leg exercise, exert the power, but your angles and your body position is perfect. So instead of using free weights where you're swinging and then you swing wrongly and then you pull a muscle, use the equipment until you get your fitness levels up, or until you understand what is going on, and then you can move away from that.
Brilliant.
Right, lack of support from family and friends. That's another one where this is probably linked to one of the other ones we're going to come to culturally. This one, again, is a hard one, because if your environment or your close friends don't believe in what you're doing, then it's hard, because they have a knock-on effect on how you feel, or whether you should really go on with it, because it'll make it quite uncomfortable. And you see that in every aspect of life where people don't believe in your views, or people, it's exactly the same. How do you get around it? Or try to become friends with the people that, or not necessarily become friends, actually join groups of people, like-minded people. They don't have to become your best friends, but join different groups. Can you join classes? Can you find activities at work, or find people at work who you may not have spoken to, but you see them doing it? Go and join them. So then that could be your motivation factor. So you could get away from that. And I think with time, you probably end up changing the minds of those people that actually, your family members or your friends that had the negative views or were telling you what you were doing was wrong. So there are the factors. Join a club. Go to work, see what other colleagues are doing, or locally find out. Finance. This is a problem. I mean, from when I was young, my family, we were poor. How do you because I personally, gyms are not the only thing. But then the problem is, if finance is an issue, that means technically you're probably living in an area where it's not very nice. This links into one of the other ones that will come up. So you even don't have the facilities. But again, if finance is an issue, can you do something close to your shopping center? So because you're going to drive away, can you do something that is cheap along your shopping trip? Can you do stuff at work? If you can't, walk more, because that's free. But again, this will feed back into, if sometimes depending on the area you live in, you may not be able to walk because the crime rate may be high. Can you walk more? Can you do stuff at home? But I mean, I spoke to Radzi about using Tim's. He's dead against it. Tim's are useless. It's just a nominal weight. But don't listen to Radzi. It works. It's just you can use Tim's. You could do stepping up on the steps at home. Again, my classic one, in front of the TV, you could do sit-ups. You could do circuit training where you're doing high knees, you're doing burpees, you're doing squats, you're doing crunches, sit-ups, you're doing press-ups. You could do all of this kind of stuff against time. So 30 seconds on, 30 off, 40 on, 20 off. You could do all of this stuff. So finances are a big, big issue, but you can get around it by just actually using your own body weight, or making the most of the little area that you actually are in. But this feeds into lack of facilities and resources. No cycling path, no bike paths. I know the area. When we were young, it was quite a nice area, but then it became quite. it's not comfortable to go out and walk, especially if you're a female and at night. So you have to pick a time. And I guess the only thing is, again, I'm going to go back to this. I think this is really important, where if you're having to drive to a school or you're driving to shopping or along that path, there may be an area outside of your catchment that may be a nice area to walk.
Yep.
Stop off before you go or after you go. If it's dropping kids, then drop them, and then on your way back, go for a walk in a nicer park.
Yeah.
Go for a jog in a nicer park. Use their park equipment. So there are ways of getting around it, but it just involves a bit of imagination and being a bit more creative with the brain. But it can be done. Again, some work environments have gym facilities, or they encourage you to just go for walks or basically running groups at work. So you can use them to actually get around their finances and the lack of beauty in your area or lack of forest. So you just have to do a little bit more research and you get around it. And then that again is linked a bit more into the community spirit and social environment. That's another factor that people use. But that links back into family support.
Yeah.
So they're all intertwined, right?
But that's a good thing about here in Qatar, is that there's so many groups that you can be part of.
And there's so many groups, and I've never seen a place where you could just hop onto any track. In the UK, we get charged. Every time you go and use anything decent, you get charged. Yeah. The facilities here are amazing. Yeah. The parks, every park you should go to has got you could use those park equipment.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
And it's like the cycle tracks, it's
endless.
It's endless.
It's endless. And the other part, we were at the Aspire, was it a week ago? My wife and I were both complaining that it's too spongy. It's not built for people like us, because we're so sensitive to the ground. But it's amazing because people could go and actually run on those rubber thing or walk on it. It is spongy, so you're not getting the shockwaves through your hips, your knees, your joints. So actually, it limits your injuries, but it's everywhere. I can't see. There's nowhere in the UK where you have those beautifully laid, and this one is everywhere. Everywhere you go to, there's this cycle lane. There's a soft surface, and I'm just like, wow, the amount of investment that you've had to do to actually set this up for your country.
And let's face it, a lot of people use it. It's not
loads
of people.
In the thick of summer, I remember COVID time, even with us wearing masks, going for runs, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., people are out. Yeah. It's busy. Albeda, Aspire. Yeah. It's busy. Yeah. All the time. It's amazing busy. So it's heavily used. And it's not just Europeans. I see lots of Qatari ladies in groups. They're all walking.
The one thing that I like is that you see, and you've got to admire, just because of the knowing the subjects in your list there. But just when you go out and you see people that are overweight. Yes. But they've taken that step. They've made the effort.
Precisely.
Just kind of.
But it's easy. I mean, it's not easy. They've taken that step, but it's so easy when you've got these beautiful facilities. Yeah. It's a bit like exactly what we just spoke about, the lack of facilities and resources. When those facilities are available, actually, and you see people using it, sometimes you look at yourself and go, what is my excuse?
But there's this social aspect to it too that's so important, because we had a lady called Natalia that was on the show, and what she's doing with Qatari ladies is she started a big group. Well, she didn't. There was 2 Qataris that set it up, and what they do is they experience other different sports, paddle, basketball. Wow. Yeah. So you're always experiencing. Yeah. That's something that we should consider, really, because there's so many sports that, as you said, to keep it alive.
Yeah, keep it alive, keep it fresh.
Something else.
And you never know. You just get, because you're doing such a varied amount of activity in sports, you may just develop that bite for that thing that you never thought that you would have a passion for. Yeah. And suddenly that's what you need to sustain. And then before you know it, 100 years in the bank. Yeah, you've been alive and kicking.
I'm going to get back into this. I really am. With all the stuff that you're saying here is fantastic.
Steve, right. So we've got a few more topics. We've got gender and cultural bias. And these areas are really, really quite well linked. Like when we did the community. So you've got the gender. Some people may feel like I'm in the process of helping people on the compound again. And then one of the questions that the Arabic lady, I think the Lebanese, she said, is it going to be female only? I was like, oh yeah, sugar. I didn't take that into consideration because I'm just basically good, right? I don't mind mixing the groups up. There is the aspect of it. So there is the there's the age bias, and then there is the gender bias, and then there is the cultural bias as well. So you've got the gender bias where certain females don't feel comfortable training in a mixed group.
Yeah.
And you can't force it.
No.
So you just have to basically try to find groups that basically fit you. And I think most males don't really mind, but I think culturally, some males do. So you just have to just do what fits. There is no set rules on this. So if, let's imagine you're an old person, you want to train with young people, you don't have to. Find your own age group. And there's so many things available. Like if, I know here, there's so many classes. UK governments used to have like the retirement kind of classes for free, or poorer people have free classes where the government is paid. There's a leisure centre for. So there's all these kind of groups that can actually help you, or you could find one that fits into your something that is fine for you.
Yeah.
So I think that shouldn't really be an excuse-ish, because you can find what is comfortable for you, and that's what it has to come down to. It has to be what is comfortable for me.
Yeah.
There is no kind of rocket science about it. It's, I want to train with male, train with male. Train with females, train with females. Just do what fits for you.
Yeah.
Anything to get you doing it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Weather, we don't have here the weather is too hot. In Europe, it's too cold or it's too wet. Okay, so again, you have to brave it.
Yeah.
Like I remember when it started snowing when I was in the UK, I missed it so much. I love that virgin snow when you put your feet on, then you hear the sound.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, when it's a bit mushy, it's horrible because your feet goes in and gets cold. But it's just, I love the different conditions.
The cold and the crunch.
This is the beauty of when you put your foot down. Yes, you have to change the way you run. You have to change the way probably you bike, because you can't just take the corner by leaning too much in. You will aquaplane, just slide away. So you have to change and adapt, but brave it. Like here, I mean, my first summer here when we were training, you can hardly get any oxygen into your lungs.
Yeah.
It was you go out 2 minutes in, you're like, you're gasping for air. But you brave it and your body just starts to adapt to the severity of it in terms of how hot it is. Or when you're in Sweden with my wife, it's freezing, -20. -15, we're out running, and then everything literally sweat comes out his eyes.
Yeah.
Your back of your throat, it turns ice. So it's one of those things that yes, you can't be out for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But you just brave it, and then you just brave it and enjoy it. Or you could do things like indoor activities.
Yeah.
Go to the gym. If money doesn't allow, do body weight at home.
Yeah.
So it's just those things, and just really and truly staying flexible on it. Right. I think the last area is crime and transportation. Crime you can't avoid, but that links in a bit with what we spoke about. Do it on the way to work. Drop the kids, and you could get around it. I know it's not everyone has the ability to have the beautiful environments like a nice forest or a nice park, or be in Qatar where facilities are literally free and available to all to use, even top facilities. Where UK you'd be charged an awful lot of money, and Sweden have a good system where they try to encourage. So there's a lot of clubs. After school buses take people to different locations, so they've got a good setup in Sweden. But in the UK they charge you, and probably America's the same. You get charged for everything.
Yeah.
Transportation, again, I don't have a car, or there's no buses going. Again, these are stuff that you can't help, but you just have to get around it.
You know, metros, everything.
Yeah, I think Qataris don't realise how lucky, because I'm coming here and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. I remember when we first came, with 2 weeks of kids, we were trying to find them school. So we were just literally doing the park tours, and we just couldn't believe it. We were like, what? Yeah, we live relatively in a nice area where we had a nice park where we live in the UK. People used to travel in. Man, even probably the worst park here was better than the park we had in the UK, which we thought was amazing. Because the parks are amazing here. It's just their facilities. Yeah, the parks are really, really impressive. Yeah, Steve, but that's genuinely it. What was that? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 areas just to how to get over these barriers that we create.
I think with it, I don't feel, because I've stopped. There's a guilt, a real guilt that I'm just suppressing.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's loads of things that I've seen in that list there. And
Yeah.
the only thing that I can say to somebody is it doesn't matter what. And I remember, because we've gone through this COVID period, and I'm trying to question or to see why was I active when we were in the lockdown, to why there shouldn't be any difference.
No.
Should not be any difference, but there is a difference, and that's down to a personal. You can make as much excuses as you want.
Yeah.
What I've got to do is just walk down the street and back again. That's what I did
That's a start.
in the beginning.
That's
what I did in the
all
beginning.
you need.
It's just that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I want to get to the stage where you're perspiring, you're sweating, and you know you've done something.
Yeah.
I can't wait, and I really can't, because I hit. Look, I'm not wearing my watch because I've got all these rings that I pull on a daily basis. It's and it's I just try and hide it and forget about it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to forget about it anymore, and I think that's what you've given me today.
Nah, you have to. Steve so today, Steve, actually in the news. We're a bit out because we remember we had a discussion. We always said we're going to talk about what is in the sporting world or what's in the news. I know we're nearly a month out. Qatar National Sports Day.
Yeah, that's it was a great, like, everybody participates. You have the Emir that was out walking and doing things in Alberta Park, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing concept. And when I went through, like, the first one we spoke about was your best mates. Esports, so that was the first in the news.
Of course.
Your best mates.
You smashed me with that one.
I think a lot of people that actually listened to were talking about the numbers. They were very surprised by it.
Yeah.
But this one, I can't avoid Qatar National Sports Day, because when I did a bit of digging, it's only, what's it called? Was it 4 countries that actually do it?
In the world?
In the world. So I'm going to actually, there's 4. India basically on the 29th of August, and they first started in 2012. And I think it was an Indian cricketer. One of their best cricketers that basically came up with the concept of it. And then Iran, they do a weeks-long one. Yeah, and it's known as Physical Education and Sports Day. And they started, it's on the 17th of October, and it's a weeks long from 17th to the 23rd. And it's a week-long activity. Then Japan, they started their first one in 2000. And it's on the second Monday of every October. And then you have Malaysia's second Saturday in October. So everyone literally, apart from Qatar is in February. They all started. So it's only a few countries that have this, which I think is brilliant. It's just a day to make people realise actually the benefits of health.
But it's the rest of the world
not doing it.
Why not? And it's why not we? Because I was speaking with, I was talking with, who was I talking with? Yeah, Professor Jared.
Okay. Yes.
And he was talking about Africa, and he was saying that sports is, they want to see instant value. They want to see not value. They want to see instant success. They want to see what money it's going to bring in.
This is the key, isn't it? I mean, I remember when I was growing up, my parents were dead against me playing football. My dad never came to watch because, again, what's sports going to bring home? I know things are slowly changing because people are seeing African players in the Premiership making crazy amount of money.
Course.
But before, it's literally academic. And I think when you go and now compare it to the Asia Chinese, when you speak to the Indians, their families don't care about sports. Go and do your work. It's the academics. And I think Africans, I could speak from my parents' point of view, and I could see cousins and family friends. It's not valued. It's not valued at all, because for them, it doesn't bring in money. And they don't realize the investment you have to make from the ages of, let's say, if you want to play tennis or if you want to do anything skill-based, you have to go from 4 years old onwards. It's very hard to hop in. Yes, football, you may get lucky and then later on, but most kids are in academy at the age of 7, 8.
And with Africa in particular, would you say that because I look at Africa and what people are saying, that is a sleeping giant when it comes to a sports perspective.
100%. For me, like 100%, because genetically, lots of those guys are gifted. But again, then it boils down to facilities.
Well, when is it gonna? And I know, particularly, we've had quite a few guests on from Africa, South Africa, Kenya. So, but you look at it and you go, there's a lot of people out there that's trying to make a difference. And from a social perspective, what it's going to do for the country and what's it going to do for individuals is just immense.
It'll be immense and it'll be massive. Like, if you look at what Mane for, where's Mane? Senegal. And then you've got people like, I remember from my generation, in Ghana, we had, what's it called? What was that guy's name? Abedi Pele, not the original Pele, Brazilian Pele. We had another Pele who was playing for Marseille. He was very good, and he changed things a little bit. Then you had George Weah from Liberia, now who's the president. Yeah, so he did AC Milan, and then you've subsequently had a lot of people. But Mane and Salah, what they are doing now is a bit the same, where every child now in Africa wants to be Mane, every child wants to be Salah, because these guys still go back to their homelands and make a difference and actually show parents that this is what. And I think that is really the only way. Is the more of those kind of guys that were from their homeland that left. It's easy when let's imagine I was born and raised in the UK, both parents are from Ghana. I could represent England, so it's when it doesn't happen for England, then I know most people in my situation fall back to playing for Ghana. When you've been born and raised in that country, and then you've managed to make it to the European League or whatever, it speaks more volume. And I think that's where Salah and Mane's kind of stories resonate a lot with. So I think once you start to get more of the homegrown, then I think Africa will really take off, because genetically they're gifted. Like, if you look at the Kenyans and Ethiopians, they've been born with a lung capacity. Then you look at Sub-Saharan, Western Africa, or into the Southern. Genetically, they're gifted in explosive power. And so I think it's only a matter of time. And then obviously there's the other aspect as well. The level of professionalism, or the people teaching them. That has to improve.
You've got to watch you've just got to watch the Gerard.
I will go back and listen to
You've
the
got to
whole
listen to, because
podcast.
it was just, there's still things going over in my mind with what he said. And one of the questions I asked him was, I said to him, when did you realise you were going to be an academic? He said, that never came into my mind.
Classic.
All I wanted to do was I just wanted to play sports. And basketball particularly. And then people were just, because of the level of what I was playing, then you'd get to go into a different school. Or somebody would want you to.
My wife was the same. So Sarah she was in Sweden, but then she got a scholarship to go to the boarding school in Stockholm. And then just because she was a good runner, and academically she was strong, but normally you would never have ventured out into a very good boarding school. And subsequently that has taken her to where she is now. And I think I'm a bit the same. East London. Then I realised that football dream when I was 18 got released, and I went to Sprinton, and I wanted to go to Loughborough. It was the best for engineering and the best for sports. So I worked so hard to get there, but it was never my intention to I was not interested in my degree. I was not interested in getting a postdoc. It's just one thing led to the other. So it's a bit exactly the same. I wanted to become the fastest sprinter or the best footballer or whatever.
But there's value, right?
There is. It's a work ethic.
That's the value, because it teaches you so much. Sports teaches you so much.
Precisely.
And especially when you see these people, these individuals, and I can Professor Gerard, you've got Professor Camilla. It's like what they've all done for the sports. It's changing lives in such a big way. And we were talking about different things, and we said about the military, etc., etc. It was like the teamwork was installed into you. Sports was installed into you. It was just one of those things that you wanted to do, and it gave you so much. It was my going through my life. When I think back to this time at 16, sports was my escape. I was either having to do vacuuming or polishing. Mum would make us go down to it was either do that or go out and play sports.
This is it.
Go and play football. Go and play rugby. Go and do something that you weren't in the house.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of sport, because my wife and I, we both 100% like. If it wasn't for the kind of discipline, like you can look across all spectrums and you speak to people. Now, that's why I guess as well, when sportsmen and women, a lot of them who have reached a high level, when they finish, they go into the city or they go into strategic roles. Because you're so used to being so clinical with your time, with how you approach stuff, your logical thinking. it's something that sports teaches you that you can't buy.
Sometimes I think that we're losing that to a certain degree.
We are. I think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are. Because, I mean, again, sorry, your best mates, I think esports is stealing a lot of these youngsters.
Let me tell you, and I'm not against esports.
No, not at all. But
I said because of the circumstances right now, esports is the biggest disruptor in sports.
Massive.
And everybody, I've been to, even before COVID, people were saying, but with the COVID period, that's going to, and I don't know, and it's another subject. Maybe we'll talk about this next time.
Yeah, definitely.
Time.
Yeah,
because
we'll see.
I think this is one of the subjects, is that it's just a big disruptor, and people know it too. But we've got to, because that's the way that sports is going now.
It is.
The sports is kind of going in a different direction, and it's got to go in a different direction.
Yeah, very true.
It's going in a different direction. Paul.
Pleasure.
That was a great one.
Yeah. It's been enjoyable.
It's
a lot to cover.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of stuff that I've got. I'm ready. I'm ready now. After this show, I'm ready to go out and tackle it.
I think other people, there's probably a lot to take in, but it'll make more sense when they hop onto your site and see that it's in text form.
It will be kind of brilliant that we're doing that, and this is going to be a regular slot for us. And we're going to talk about. Well, I'd like to talk to you about the guests from Africa, and you're originally from Africa, and your mum and dad, and what we can do on the next show is possibly talk about the effects of sports. And how it affected you and the opportunity. Because there's so many people that are trying to make a difference in there. That's all. The only way we're going to do this is by all coming together. And you might not think that you're somebody, but we've all got the ability to make a small difference.
Yeah, just a small difference. And that's all that matters, isn't it? Even if it shapes just one person.
Exactly.
Yeah, job done. Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much indeed. Everybody, I'm so glad that you joined us today. We've had a fabulous time. We're going to be doing a lot next time. Honestly, thanks for your support. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming and kind of taking time and listening to our guests. It's so important that we do get that spotlight on them, because they've got some really valuable stuff to talk about. And I just enjoy the ride. So until next week, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon. Cheers then. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favourite podcast app.